Hi, and welcome to Lessons on Demand. This is Scott Schilling, and I'll be your trainer today for this session on the performance pyramid. The performance pyramid is basically going to talk about the stratification of suspects, prospects, customers, clients, advocates, and partners. Now, you might be wondering yourself, what the heck did he just say? Yeah, the stratification, that means the separation between those that are simply suspects and those that are all the way up to partnering with you and becoming integral parts of your business going forward. This is really about targeting the right people at the right times the right way. So the performance pyramid, it looks exactly like this. We want to look at this in the eyes of a pyramid that in fact we will soon understand as we go through this. Now, there's a ton of information in this lesson. So I suggest you get a pad of paper, pen and pencil, get ready to start taking some notes. As always, you can stop this lesson along the way, think about some things critically. I encourage you to do that. This is going to jog some things in your mind, there's no doubt about it. So again, a very important lesson. As we talk about the performance pyramid, that foundational level is called a suspect. Now, if we were going to define a suspect is an individual or a family. They're a suspect for the products, goods, services, the cause we represent. They're a suspect. They are simply an opportunity for us to think through as we explore the marketplace and we start to brainstorm a little bit, mindstorm, and think about who our opportunities lie with. We start with suspects. They've never come to your presentation. They really don't know that much about you. But they have a need for your expertise. Probably knows very little about you. And if you were going to assign another name to them, you could call them an agnostic or a cynic or even a doubter. So that foundational level of the performance pyramid is called a suspect. Again, don't really know much about you. They have some need for your expertise, so they're kind of in the market for what you do, but that's about it. Well, where does it go from there? From there, the pyramid goes to prospects. Now, a prospect is, again, probably an individual or a family that may or may not have been to your presentation or know too much about you. They are in need of your expertise. They have the money and the inclination to try your services. This is what really differentiates a suspect from a prospect. They have need, they have financial wherewithal, and they have inclination, much more purposeful portion of the relationship. They've heard about opportunities in your product category. In other words, they've either heard about your product or somebody else's product, but it fits within your realm of possibility. And if you were to put another name on a prospect, they might be an explorer or a speculator or even an examiner. These are folks who are, again, in need of your expertise, have the money, the inclination to try your services. Well, what could be better than that? Well, obviously, a customer. But a customer may or may not be under the definition you're understanding at this point. Again, an individual or a family has been to your presentation at least once, or they have taken part in what you have done at least once. In other words, they've made one purchase. They've spent money with you at least one time. But there's no assurance of them ever coming back again. This is where many people get confused. They think, well, I've got a customer, they'll automatically be back. That's not the case. There's a different level when they go from customer to client. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, a customer, there's no implication of a long-term relationship. You start to, by definition, see some of the challenges and opportunities here. Now again, if you were to rename this person, they would be called maybe a patron or a consumer or an end user. The key here is there's no implication of a long-term relationship or them ever coming back. See, this is just the start of the purchase process. You got them to buy one time. Now that's great. But now the loving comes in. And again, we're going to get into it. That's all part of the performance pyramid. Well, what could be better is when that customer actually becomes a client. Now again, an individual or a family that's experienced your presentation, your products, worked with you, they're starting to understand what you do, how you do it, all those kinds of wonderful things, and they've developed trust in you and they respect your expertise. Are you starting to hear the difference between a customer and a client? It's a much more purposeful place. They accept your advice and they're far more committed. Again, if you were going to put a name to them, they're a disciple or a follower or a believer. Now, wouldn't you rather have a disciple than just a customer? Of course you would. Now again, it's very important that we first understand the distinctions between the levels, and then we're going to go into how to identify them and all sorts of different things along the way. Again, this is a very important lesson here to understand this material. Well, what could be better than a client? How about an advocate? They've been taught by you and grown with your organization. This is somebody who's starting to get really excited about what you're doing and has a much deeper level of respect for you along the way. In fact, they believe strongly in your services and your products. They're really starting to become part of the team. That's why they're an advocate. Again, there's some very exciting things about advocates as we go along. This is one of them. They send you unsolicited business, and they eagerly buy your products. Do you start to see something that you like here? Yeah, you want to really turn everybody that you can into advocates because they're the ones who are helping grow your business through referrals. They're sending you business. They eagerly buy your products. They're spending money with you. Again, if you were to put a name to these folks, they would be your promoters or defenders or supporters. These are the folks that come to your defense should you have a quality issue or a mistake along the way. I know you're coming from the right place. You're coming with all great integrity. Well, these are the folks that also know that and will come to your defense. Now, is there anything better than an advocate? Well, absolutely there is. At the top of the pyramid, it's called a partner. Now, a partner is more than likely an individual. We get out of the family side of this thing now. This is more than likely an individual and probably has even become a close friend of yours. You're working so closely together. In fact, it's such a close relationship that there's an absolute free exchange of ideas. They can simply offer up some things to you and probably tell you the things that you need to hear, not necessarily the things you want to hear. These are people who really are invested in you, your business, your organization, everything that's going forward. Now, the thing is, it's an extremely limited group, and this is the colleague or the true comrade. These are really tight relationships. That's basically a definition of all the plateaus, all the levels: suspect, prospect, customer, client, advocate, and partner. So now we've got a working definition going here. Let's take a further look. When we look at those suspects, in order to identify them, we have to first define the universe. Well, these are non-consumers of your products. Now again, there are 7 billion people on this planet at this point, and one could say, sort of, that all 7 billion are suspects. Well, that's true to a certain extent, but the fact is we need to refine that down a little bit further so we define the universe. They could be in debt or have a dead-end job. They could be in need of hope. You could have just the product, the solution, the service, the opportunity, the philanthropy that absolutely helps this person feel more connected or more in tune, whatever that case might know. Many times these are the folks who don't know what they don't know. In other words, you can see that they potentially have a need for your products, goods, or services, but they may or may not see that as clearly as you do. This is, again, a great opportunity for you to identify them. So you have to create some type of promotion to call their attention. You might use something like an infomercial. Now, I've got some great friends. I have been fortunate enough to be in 8 infomercials myself. I've got a friend who sold over $2.5 billion through infomercials. He's extremely good at creating this kind of promotion. You could use print advertising. You could use the internet. basically their response qualifies them as a prospect because their action shows at least an inclination to try what it is that you have to offer. They want to learn more about it. Well, now then you have a prospect. What do you do with a prospect? You have to gain their comfort with you, your workshops, your products, your whatever it is you do, your products, goods, and services. You have to gain their comfort to help win them over. Remember, they have the inclination and the resources to take advantage of what you have, so now it's incumbent upon you to amp it up to the next level. You have to match their needs to our solution or your solution. So again, it's now not simply providing a solution to everybody, but you have to now understand their needs well. You have to match what you have to what they have. And you have to provide the time, interest, and knowledge necessary to make them a customer. That's right. You got to get them to sample. You got to get them to buy at least once. You have all now sampled the trainings that I've done. You are now a customer of mine. Now, it's not until we refine this relationship going forward that you make repeated purchases, that you like the information, that we have further exchanges, that you now go to the next level as that of a client. Or first as a customer. Well, as a customer, we need to value them. We need to win them over. Now, we could do that with our 24-hour phone call. We could do it with our 2-question survey. We could check on them. Basically, what we have to do is nurture them. We have to nurture that relationship because remember, there is no long-term relationship guaranteed at this point. We want to take them from customer to client. We want to love on them. We want to make sure that they're using your product, that they start walking the walk, that they become a product of the product going forward. You really need to treat them as if they're your oldest and dearest customer and really make them into a client. Now, as a client, this is time to really return their trust. Do you understand? They've moved up the line. They've now made multiple purchases from you. They're showing the fact that they're a believer in what you do. So it's time for you to return their trust in you by trusting them even further. Remember, there's a free exchange of thought at this point because they're now investing in you further. So encourage that. Allow the communication to happen. Because as they get fired up about you, your products, they come in repeatedly and now they become an advocate. And remember, that's what we really want to move towards, is we want to make as many people advocates of what we do as we possibly can. Now it's time to validate and strengthen their beliefs. Support them in supporting you. Help them help you. Thank them for their unsolicited support. Remember, at this stage, they are now sending you unsolicited business. Unsolicited business comes through referrals. It comes through a variety of different things. Now, here's what's exciting about unsolicited business. It's free. See, it's being sent to you. You've had no cost of acquisition here other than to treat this client so well that they become your advocates. Continue to suggest good choices for them to make. Continue to help them help you along the way. Again, that means make it easy for them. Do you need some Twitter copy in order to send out? Do you need some Facebook postings to share about this latest book? Whatever the case might be, help them help you along the way. They love what they're doing, and a couple want to participate more. A couple might even become partners. You understand, you can usually look back, and those are the ones that are just there for you no matter what's happening in your business. Those are the ones that are your biggest supporters, your biggest advocates. They actually become partners. Now, you'll know it when you see it. This is not anything that I can really define for you. You've got a feeling who your partners are in your business. They take an active role. And there's probably only room for one or two of these folks. But they're golden. When you have a partner, make sure that you do everything you can to support that partner in supporting you. Just that simple. Now, why do you need to know about these different types or the stratification of the pyramid and things like that? So why is this important? Well, let's continue to look at it. As we go along, quite frankly, your customers, your prospects, and your suspects, the bottom three levels of the pyramid all have a consistent set of criteria and characteristics along the way. The first one is that they typically lack loyalty and will shop you for every penny. That means your margins will be squeezed. That means you're going to have to explain yourself over and over again. They'll test your expertise and your knowledge. They'll see if you're really giving them the best. See, there's really not a whole bunch of loyalty here because they are part of a big group that's kind of lumped in that you're just kind of a service provider, and I'm not really loyal to you at this point. Remember, as a suspect and prospect, they haven't bought at all, and as a customer, they've only bought once. And there's no guarantee that they'll ever buy again. So this is where they lack that loyalty. And although this is where the largest number exists, it's also where the greatest competition exists. Everybody can figure out who the suspects are for their product. Everybody can figure out who a prospect is for their product. And along the way, a few people can start to make them customers. That's why it's a pyramid. That's why it starts to get narrower. The fact is, all the competition is shooting at the same people you're shooting at typically. And so this is where we spend far too much money. We put too much effort. We have to cull through too many people. It ties up too much of our time. Piedro's rule fits with customers too. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. So the fact is, what we're doing is we're chewing up a lot of our time doing the suspect and prospecting and working with customers as opposed to the top. We're going to talk more about that here in a second. Now, when it comes to our partners, our advocates, and our clients, this is where they trust and respect you. Your performance, your products, your offerings. You understand? Trust and respect is there, and people do business with those they know, like, and trust. Down in the suspect and prospect and customer area, you've got just enough trust for them to try you once. You don't have enough trust to get them coming back. That's what happens as clients, advocates, and partners. This trust and respect is built in you, your products, your opportunity, your offerings, your philanthropy, whatever it might be. That's where you want to be. You want to be in this upper echelon. They value your expertise. There's relationship. They show strong loyalty. They're dedicated to you. These are all things that ultimately you want to have. You want that loyalty. You want a relationship. And here's why. Because price becomes far less of an issue. They understand the value you're providing them. See, a customer might just shoot at you for a low price. A client will give you the benefit of the doubt because they have the relationship with you and know that you will deliver far past the initial price of the product, as do advocates, as do partners. So if you want to have a more valuable and profitable business, what you really want to do is develop partners, advocates, and clients. You don't just want customers and prospects, and certainly suspects. Now there's 4 steps to climbing this pyramid. This is really important. The first is to recognize the fact that these groups exist. One of the things when I taught this to one of my clients way back when, a number of years ago, the first thing that their customer support department did in conjunction with their tech team is they built this pyramid into their customer maintenance tool. In other words, their CRM system. And basically everybody in their contact management system was given a designation. Why? Well, you'll find out more here in a second. But the first part of it was because you have to recognize that these groups exist. The second thing is you need to categorize and identify your customer list by name. That's what they were doing. See, what they wanted to do is gain efficiency because the next part of this will explain it completely. We want to have people driven up into the top 3 levels. That's where the 80% of the business comes from 20% of the numbers. Just the way it works. Now, does it mean you don't treat the bottom 3 categories well? Not what I'm saying in the least. You got to love on them. You got to do everything you can for them in the desire to move them up the levels. So again, you're constantly working to move people up the pyramid. You're constantly working to move a customer to a client and clients to advocates. And then every once in a while, that partner will raise his hand along the way. Provide extraordinary customer care to the top 3 levels. Love on them, love on them, love on them, and love on them. You can see this. There's so many examples of this. One that's separated so you can see it. They don't always do it exactly as well as they could. Some of them do, some of them don't. And that's the airline industry. For about 7 years running now, I've been executive platinum on American Airlines. By the way, that's not all that wonderful. All it means is you travel too much. But as executive platinum, you're given benefits that platinums are not given. And platinums are getting benefits that gold is not given. And gold is given benefits that simply advantage customers are not given. Well, if you do that, the advantage customer is the customer, gold is client, advocate is platinum, partner is executive platinum, as an example. Now again, it's extraordinary customer care at the top 3 levels. Why? This is where the vast majority of your revenue is going to come from. This is where the vast majority of your referrals are going to come from. This is where the money, instead of spending money on prospecting, the money is spent on nurturing and on relationship, and the exchange of business comes because of that nurturing as opposed to advertising. Does that make sense? So it's still advertising and marketing. It's just done in a different way. It's done through extraordinary customer care. Now here's another reason. Is a satisfied customer tells 3 people. A dissatisfied tells 11. Now you're going, wait a second, Scott, that's not true. You know what? You're right. I still keep this in this presentation because at one time, those were the absolute percentages in the numbers. The satisfied customer told 3, dissatisfied tells 11. So they tell about 4 times more people when they're dissatisfied. There are certain companies that have not handled situations as well as I think they should. And if anybody were to ask me about that company, I would detail that story to them. Now, I won't do it without somebody bringing it up. But if somebody asked my opinion, I would certainly share that to this day. Why? Because what you're doing is you're taking care of people, either on the good side or the bad side. It doesn't matter. Happy customers will tell people too. Now, the reason I leave this in here is more for the ratios, except the ratios kind of get blown away with Twitter and Facebook and everything else. The fact of the matter is the satisfied customer does tell 3, or maybe a little bit more than that, but the dissatisfied tells 11 million. I mean, with today's immediate gratification society, the fact that a text or an email can go around the world in a matter of seconds, the dissatisfied folks jump all over it. They get it out there. So that's why reputation's got to be job 1. Integrity's got to be job 1. You're going to make mistakes along the way. There are going to be system problems. There are going to be failures in technology. All those things are going to happen. The only thing that you can really do is apologize for it, recognize it, handle it as fast as you can, do something you can to nurture those that were affected by it. Stuff happens. Stuff will always happen. But if you say you're going to take care of people, then take care of people. It's not so much that people have stuff happen to them. It's more that they're not treated the way they anticipate when stuff happens to them. So again, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. He who lives the perfect life can live in the glass house, The fact is we all do things wrong, not purposely. We all have problems, not purposely. We all say things we shouldn't, not purposely. But if you find that it affects somebody, go ahead, apologize for it, do the best you can to reconcile the situation from that side. If we were to sum it up again, let's go back to Zig's quote. You can have anything in life you want when you just help enough other people get what they want. In essence, when we're looking at the performance pyramid, that's exactly what we're doing. We're helping the suspects become prospects if they'd like to. We're helping the prospects become customers if they'd like to. We're helping the customers become advocates if they'd like to. We're helping the advocates become partners if they'd like to. Do you understand? It's always if they'd like to. Now, it's incumbent upon us to help them get there, but the fact is, you can have anything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. As always, if you have any questions about this or any of these other lessons in Lessons on Demand, please feel free to drop me an email, get in touch. If you need more information, simply go to www.scottschilling.com. This is an extremely important lesson. Please review it over and over again. Go back and start to categorize your customers. Start to put the right names on them. You'll be amazed at what happens as soon as you do it. Give that extraordinary customer care to the top 3 levels. Love on everybody, but make it extraordinary at the top. This is Scott Schilling saying thank you again for the opportunity to present the Performance Pyramid. And until next time, I'm so excited about what you're doing. I know you're having great success, and I look forward to talking again soon. Take care.